back to the Peripheral Views podcast, folks. This is our newest episode. Not within any of our series. We're going to be just talking a little preview show for a UFC event. First things first, I'm your host, Jake. Erroll is with me on this evening of December 11th, 2023. Erroll, what's going on, bro?
Ayo.
Back with another pod tonight. Little housekeeping before we get rolling on a little UFC talk, little MMA. Housekeeping first and foremost, peripheralviewspodcast.com. That's the webpage. We are on YouTube. Every episode that we've done so far basically is up on YouTube. Just throw us in the search bar, Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. And please, if you do, subscribe, rate, and review if you could. And follow us on the socials. We are on X, Peripheral V123, at Peripheral V123. We're also on SoundCloud.com/Peripheral Views 123. If you want to reach us more directly, you can reach us at our podcast email. That is peripheralviewspodcast@gmail.com. And I think that's just about it for the housekeeping notes. Quick recap what we talked about in the last pod. If you're looking to check out the most recent Peripheral Views podcast, we did a breakdown in the music series of the pod on the iconic and industry shifting hip hop album Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers from 1993. Erroll, anything on that came about since recording and since releasing the podcast on that Wu-Tang album? Anything that came about you wanted to add to that, or do you think we covered it about as well as we could have?
I think the latter. I think we did. I always say it, but I think we did about as good a job as we could.
Yeah, I think that's probably about the right. I mean, we talked at length about it. I'm sure there's shit we didn't actually get to. Kind of tough to talk. A piece of art that intense and like that, like I said, culturally impactful is
I can tell
tough
you
to get to it all.
I can tell you for a fact that we definitely missed like all the references of like future like samples and stuff like that. But like,
And the lyrics too. Yeah, there's plenty of lyrics we didn't actually get to. I think we referenced a few. I mean, we could do a full podcast breaking down like lyrical content, lyric for lyric of what that album like brings to the table. But that could be 6-7 hours just on its face alone. So instead, we decided to kind of just talk about the album and its influence and what the tracks mean to the album and ipso facto what the album means to hip hop culture and music culture. So we went that route, and I think we did a pretty decent job. So nothing really jumping out at us there. But if you are interested in hearing us break that album down track for track and the state of music in 1993, it was the 30-year anniversary of the album. Feel free to jump back in the most previous episode. That's our 21st episode of the podcast, Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers by Wu-Tang Clan from 1993. So feel free to jump back to that if you're interested. Moving into today's episode, we are talking UFC 296. This is going to be a preview show. We're going to break down the card. We do talk a little UFC, a little MMA on the podcast. Common point, intersection of interest for Erroll and I. So we like to talk the stuff. We've done we've actually done a post show. We might do a post show potentially this weekend.
probably.
Yeah, I think we could probably get to maybe just a short 30-40 minute post show.
Yeah, if not, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what the results are. If it's a snoozer of a card, I don't think it's going to be. It's a pretty good card. I mean, this thing is loaded, top to bottom. It's got bangers all the way even through the prelims. So that being
the card,
case,
though, we just have an open card. We're not sure. We're not sure what the game plan is this weekend.
Yeah, we're kind of working out those details. First and foremost, but either way, we do have some content coming out this week, which we're going to get to at the end of the show. We'll keep you guys filled in on what's coming. We've got another episode that will drop before the UFC 296 pay-per-view itself. We got one more coming out this week after this podcast. So pretty busy week around the Peripheral Views domain as we kind of usher our way into the holiday season. Probably going to take, I should announce that here on the pod while we're recording. We probably will around next week have, I would say no later than like mid next week, we'll probably have our final episode of the year out on the airwaves. Then we're going to retreat into the darkness for a few handful of weeks, just kind of enjoy the holidays with our families and take a break. We're both working folk, so nice to
Yeah,
take a little break.
I wanted to touch base on that too. Not to toot my own horn, but as my loyal followers know, I've been dabbling in plays and whatnot.
Right.
I
Yes,
have
sir.
I got another one coming up, so I'm gonna
Ooh
take that
boy.
time. Yeah, I gotta. It's they had open auditions for uh what is it called? Of Life and Love collection of one act plays, and it's just they're a little theater. Watertown's just gonna try to do some stuff about like relationships, not necessarily like all lovey dovey, but just something nice around Valentine's. It's gonna be February 10th and the 17th, so just a bit before Valentine's Day, just a little bit after. Um, I got a couple parts. I got two roles.
Beautiful. Erroll back on the stage, pumping out some performances there. That's nice. Good plug.
Oh
Love it.
yeah. So one of them is like a uh main co-main where I'll be in just like a 1-2, but the other one is just like a I'm a one-off character. Um it's a I don't want to say I was typecast, but it was a I'm just the I'm the himbo eye candy in a like no in like a love square like
I've never heard of a love controversy described in a square. So
yeah, so it's like it's four guys,
that's
so
big
it's a
problems. That's big
yeah,
problems. Big time problems.
right, yeah, so it's four guys in a homoerotic relationship, and I'm literally just the last second like eye candy, like just post up, "Hello, boys. Who's this?" So, but like as you know, you are a you're a smart fellow. So I have a question
Okay,
for
let's
you,
hear it. Let's hear
and
what you
that is
got.
a couple names. I'm going to shoot them out there. Then we're going to ask for what do they have in common.
Okay, all right. I'm in.
Okay,
Let's hear it.
Marlon Brando,
Okay.
James Dean,
Okay.
Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix, Christian Bale, Dustin Hoffman, Daniel Day-Lewis, Robert De Niro, and Al Pacino. What do they all have in common?
Ooh. Um, they're all recipients of Academy Awards for sure. Uh,
And
and is this in relation to the play? I'm curious.
yes,
Okay.
they are all method actors.
Oh, method actors, method acting. Okay, sure. Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that's a
Yes.
definite. I thought you were gonna say Marlon Brando and Richard Pryor. I was gonna be like, oh shit, there's some Hollywood lore about what the fuck went down between those two guys, but we don't have to go
Right.
into that. But
So while I'm
okay,
only
method
at the
acting.
yeah, I'm only at the end of this play, whatnot, and I really should focus on the other one. But I'm thinking if I want to take my acting career to the next level, I should probably start method acting.
Ooh, yeah. You got to live it. You got to live what you're
Yeah.
playing. I mean,
I'm thinking
if it's a small role though, those guys did that. Well, I will say this: like Brando towards the end was like I don't even know that he had to method act anymore because I think he was in like mental, like rough mental shape. Like, you remember? Have you ever
mm,
seen the end of Apocalypse Now?
well, yeah.
Like where his like the horror scene where he's like rubbing his bald head. Like that dude got paid like millions of dollars, showed up like super late, didn't know his lines or anything, and just kind
Because
of
he's like I was working.
and he was also fat as shit. He wasn't supposed to be so fat. Like he's been like the role is that he's like in the jungle as like a cult leader for like the Vietnamese, like these like indigenous tribes in like the Vietnamese jungle. And like he's like he's like fucking 200 pounds like or well, probably more than that. He's probably like 250, 260 pounds, like very, very fat, very overweight. And he's like, so like, this is why if you watch the film, he like kind of disappears into the shadows. Like, Coppola uses like a lot of shading and darkness to not show how overweight he was. But like, I don't mean to tangent on Apocalypse Now, but like, just to say that his method acting was like he just basically showed up and just gave incredible performances anyway, even like fucking not given an ounce of effort or preparation. So, but I mean, he earned that because he was a method actor up to that point.
Yeah, no, I don't mean to tangent either. I just want to like kiss boys and have an excuse.
Oh, okay. Let's listen. This is if you're gonna method act. If this is your pathway right here.
If there's a time to start,
it's via.
look, I'm an actor.
I'm an actor. Acting.
This is all in the up and up. I am taking notes.
Yeah, I mean, if method acting is your path, this is the performance. The performance will speak for itself. We'll put it to you.
That's what I'm saying. I'm only going to be in for 45 seconds, but I want those 45 seconds to scream.
And you want it to feel real,
right? And there's only one way they're going to know. And that's if I download Grindr right now.
You better. You need the app. If the app's not on your phone, they will know. The audience will know you are a phony.
Right, exactly. So that's where I'm at right now. Like, do I want to take this acting stuff serious, or do I just kind of like think it's something fun to do in my meantime?
Yeah. Are you a serious actor, or are you trying to be Rob Schneider? Like, what career are you trying to have here, sir?
Right. Yeah. Like Rob Schneider wouldn't method act. There's no way in his life. He doesn't have what it takes. And I think
he did spend. I think he spent like 3 months at the zoo in preparation for the animal.
And I will not. I will not sit here and say I'm a better actor than Rob Schneider. You will not hear me say that on the.
Dude, he's pretty good in Home Alone too. Not bad. Not bad.
Not yet. You will not hear me say that. No, if I have any kind of accreditation, because that's the thing. It doesn't matter as long as you got like accreditations, and I I will give that to him. Though he is a little. He's gone kind of.
He's gone
for Cocoa
Puffs. He's had a weird career for sure, but he's actually,
you know what it is? It's the fall that he fell so hard. Then he's
the career crash.
Yeah,
you're taking shots, bro. You're taking shots and Schneider.
Well, what's he gonna do?
I don't know.
Listen to our podcast, darn.
Yeah. I mean, if we attract that kind of celebrity, then this podcast is over.
You know what? Okay, whatever. Rob Schneider, if you for some godforsaken reason ever hear this acting off, I'll blow you out the water, bro. You don't even.
I want to see it. I want to see an act.
Swear to God, Rob Schneider, you don't even. I swear to God.
All right, well, let's move into today's content, and first and foremost, we're going to kick off the UFC 296 card with a. It sounds like it's going to be a light heavyweight bout between Errol Hooker and Rob Schneider.
Bro, he doesn't have what it takes.
I'm putting my money on the guy with the wrestling background, so Errol, that's going to be you, dog.
All he's been doing is acting. I'm going to drag him into deep waters.
Yeah, just Habib style. He's just gonna drown. He's pretty small. I think you can take him. I
don't know though. He's probably got that Hollywood diet going on. You know, you never know. He's probably got the super soldier serum. No, that's you give me 2 months. I'm not losing to Rob Schneider. Acting off, fight. Rob Schneider.
Whatever it is.
Up to you, bro. You wanna push-up challenge? Right. I don't even care. There ain't nothing you can do that I can't do better. I promise you.
This has become slanderous, and I am a huge Rob Schneider fan. So
it's not slander; it's a competition. He needs to prove me wrong.
He has not signed up for this. He's not involved. But Rob Schneider, I just want you to know the feature host of this podcast, myself, is a huge fan. Huge fan. I loved the hot chick. Excellent.
Yeah, I love that
masterpiece.
I love the South Park episode.
All right. Now we're really gonna get slanderous. All right, let's move into it. What are we talking today, Errol? We're talking. Well, actually, plug those dates for your play though before we move on off to anything.
Oh yeah, no, it's just the what was it? The 10th and the 17th. Probably going to be somewhere in Sackets Harbor if you actually care.
February 10th and 17th, 10th and 17th of February. Make sure you.
If anyone actually cares, reach out to me.
Yeah. Or hit the Peripheral Views podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah, just be like, when's that one thing? I live in upstate New York, and I'd like to show up for it.
Bingo. All right, let's do it. Let's move into the content of the day. We're talking UFC 296, but before we kick into that main card and start chatting about that, let's talk some fight announcements. Big fights got announced. Maybe not like immensely big, but like interesting fights. So let's kind of run down what's on the books. Probably the biggest one that was announced most recently is UFC 298, February 17th. No, little Erroll might be missing this one. You're gonna miss this fight, but it's a banger of a fight. Henry Cejudo is back since his loss to Aljamain Sterling back in May. He's going to take on Merab Dvalishvili in Anaheim, UFC 298. What do you think about that fight, Erroll?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to go with the
Cejudo?
former. Yeah, Henry Cejudo's definitely I, I I don't know the latter.
Yeah, yeah. Dvalishvili is on like a 9 to 10 fight win streak, and
Well, here's the thing.
he's
You
a
ever
fucking animal. I mean, he's crazy. He's
not
crazy good.
not to be stereotypical, but whenever you come across like or me, when I come across the last name I can't pronounce and it seems like kind of like Russian, I'm like, they're gonna win.
Yeah, probably gonna have a good
Oh,
time
and
out there.
that's gonna lead us. We'll eventually talk about that. Just me. There's one of those in this in UFC 296.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. We've got some Eastern European stuff going on, or Western Asia, however you want to define it. But okay, so that's one big fight that got announced before we kick into things. We got also March 2nd in Saudi Arabia. Muhammad Makhayev is he's going to be taking on, I believe, Alex Perez, which is a big fight. That's a huge fight. Is it Alex? Oh wait, is it Alex Perez? Shoot, I'm sorry. I should make sure of this before I get rolling here. I believe it is. Makhayev is he's booked. We'll say that. I should have probably had this. I would just assume that my memory would hold up, and it definitely has not. He's going to be taking out. That's the first Saudi Arabia card. That's going to be a fight night in Saudi Arabia. It's kind of a big. It's a big deal. It's nice to get. Yeah, it is Alex Perez. Sorry, it's good. It's good to get that card's going to be huge. March 2nd. It's going to be a lot of fun because it's going to be free. But they're going to build that card out big time and show up in Saudi Arabia because they're going to get huge site fee. So they're going to. I think it's going to be an exciting night of fights, and it will be free. So Mahayev is 5-0. He's 23 years old. He's 5-0 in the UFC. I should say he's like I don't. I think he's like 23-0 overall, or no, he's 11-0 professionally. He's got 23 amateur fights, all never been defeated. So he's tearing it up. He's looked better in his last 2 fights, a little bit better at least. So we're gonna see if that kid's got the goods. He's taking on Alex Perez. That'll be an interesting fight. February 3rd in Las Vegas, you've got Hanato Moicano versus Drew Dober. Sure, fireworks. I mean, guaranteed fireworks. Those boys throw down. Both extremely violent operators out there. That's gonna be a throwdown. It should be good. Um, what else we got, Errol, before we get rolling? Oh, yeah. Okay. So Macy Barber, she's getting in there against Caitlin Chukagian, a veteran who's been around forever. That'll be a good test for Macy Barber. Pretty big fight. But first and foremost, this is the most important fight to announce. Not really a fight announcement necessarily, but so Josh Emmett versus Giga Chikadze was on this UFC 296 card, right? Which would have been a great fight. Those guys are both incredible strikers, really good, a lot of power, and huge implications in the featherweight division, especially for Giga. Giga was like on the move out of Georgia. He gets injured, and now Bryce Mitchell's going to step in and fight Josh Emmett this weekend. So that actually takes us right perfectly into it takes us right into it. So let's just dive right into the card. UFC 296. This shit's going down in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. December 16th, this Saturday at I believe the main card starts as per usual at 10 p.m. Eastern. Main event, you've got Leon Edwards, who's attempting to defend his welterweight championship after defeating Kamaru Usman back in March. You got Alexandre Pantoja versus Brandon Royval coming off of his flyweight championship claiming over Brandon Moreno back in July, and was, in my opinion, the fight of the year. Um, at welterweight, you got a welterweight bout between Shavkat Rachmanov versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. At lightweight, you got Tony Ferguson taking on Paddy Pimblett. At welterweight, Vicente Luque versus Ian Machado Gary. That's your main card. Let's lead it off, though, with the main event, Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. Errol, give me some of your initial take on this.
Okay, so I cannot take Colby Covington serious.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why. I just like
One
can't.
of the most obviously the fact that there's a sect of like the MMA community that thinks his like faux patriotism slash like it's so obviously a shtick, which is fine.
He's like said it was a shtick, and that's the
Of
thing. If
course,
you actually believe in it, do your thing. And like it's not a hard sell just to like actually be like a non-sellout. So
well,
if it's like
I think his goal is to like I think he's like that. He just turned it up to 11.
yeah, that's he's actually said it too, and that's why like I would like to like him because he knows his part, and that's just the heel.
Yeah, that's
And
what he's going for.
right, and he does it really well, and that's almost like what's got him to that. But here's the thing, that will get you so far in like publicity and like us like talking smack, but like then you have to go out there and then fight someone like Leon Edwards,
Yeah.
someone who is like he's out there to fight. He's not. He doesn't need a shtick. So this is one of like the I don't want to say like soft spoken, but not a lot of like hype on
Who,
for like
Leon?
being a champ. Yeah, for
Yeah,
being like a champ.
Rocky Edwards is just his story speaks for itself. Like his
Exactly. He talks with his hands.
yeah.
He
Well,
talks with his hands.
not only just that, but his like his humble beginnings as like a Jamaican immigrant in the UK in Birmingham, and his father was murdered in like gang violence. His brother's a fighter. He's a fighter. He grew up in poverty. Like he is like his story is he is the Rocky story. Like that was what, and obviously, I don't want to deliberate too long on the head kick knockout over Kamaru Usman from a couple, at this point, almost two
No,
years
because
ago or a
you
year and a
really
half
can.
ago.
Uh
You
we
could go
could
for a
talk about it
while.
for an episode.
I know it
It
was
was
such an
beautiful.
truly one of the most incredible moments in the history of the sport.
You say the
Probably
sport, but I would say like sports.
sports.
It's like the
Yeah,
combination of like just hard work, determination,
yeah,
practice, and it all just to that moment because he's
yeah.
like he practiced that head kick
But
for
it was also perfect because he was losing the fight, and
he was fighting a monster. It
yeah,
was
I mean
David
he's
versus Goliath.
yeah, Usman had not lost in like 15 fights, had already beat Edwards and was beating him in 4 rounds of this fight.
You didn't think he was gonna win? I didn't.
No, I remember sitting there watching and I thought, wow, I thought the same thing that Rogan in DC were saying, which is that I think he's just decided that like losing a decision was good enough. And then all of a sudden he just launched, throws that head kick up there, throws it at full capacity, shin on the jaw, puts him to sleep. But then maybe even more impressively, as Teddy Atlas always says, like um, a fighter becomes like 20% better immediately just by virtue of being the champion. Like, and then
Yep.
went out just by the confidence, right? The mental side of the game.
Because you're technically.
Yeah, well, you're credentialed too. Like
Mm-hmm.
you've been validated by a championship belt in a championship moment.
There's no one better. There's no one better.
Right, you're on top of the division in the sport, and
Top of the food chain.
yep,
Baddest man on the planet.
and then he
No
did
one your weight.
stop saying that. You love that.
No one your weight's beating you up, dude.
At
If
his
you
weight,
are
yeah, but he can't be the baddest man. If you're saying at that weight, yes, yeah,
well, that's
yeah.
what I said. Baddest man on the
Because
planet at that weight.
in the UFC, if you're in the UFC and you're the champion of a division, you are the baddest man at that division. Period. Or because it doesn't matter the rest of the sport because this is the shark infested waters. This is it. This is where the sharks are at. But he goes out in March, and God, it feels like this is so crazy. This year has been. Um, that feels like it was a year ago, but it was literally only a handful of months ago where he defeats Usman across 5 rounds. I watched the fight very recently, probably in the last week or so. And I was watching the fight, and and he had a couple of fouls, right, like an eye poke. I think he got a point taken even in a round, and
Mm.
you could have made a case for a draw. But as I was rewatching the fight, the only way you're giving him a draw, he won 3 of those rounds The only case other than a draw, he definitely. If you're not going to go with a draw, you have to give it to Edwards, and they did. And that fight was a lot closer than people realize, and people kind of don't think back on the fight clearly. They kind of just. I think it seems in the public like Leon went out there and put it to Usman for 5 rounds and won clean. It was not that clean a victory. It was a very, very close fight, and arguably, it probably should have been a draw. I mean, you could make that case pretty cut and clear, not a robbery or anything like that, but definitely you could consider that fight a draw, and you'd be well within your rights to think so. But no, nonetheless, not to take anything away from the man, he is the champ, and he won the fight, and he got the nod from the judges, and now he's taking on Colby Covington, and we're just getting going on Colby. Let me tell you what Colby's done in his last 5 fights. So take a listen to this, Errol. I want you to react to this, okay? So in he has not fought since 2022, March 5th, when he beat Jorge Masvidal in a main event, right? And I'm not going to shit on Jorge Masvidal, but listen,
I
Jorge,
actually yawned.
Jorge Masvidal is not prime
No.
in 2022, and we saw that this year when he fought Gilbert Burns. Like, don't
Let's be real though. Gilbert Burns is
a bad motherfucker.
real.
He's real
An
good.
actual
Yeah, bad
fighter, a fighter. Like
Yeah, but and Masvidal went out there and he looked to be in better shape, I think. But once again, just I don't think Masvidal has been in his prime since 2019 when he was when he had 3 knockouts. He finished off Nate Diaz, he knocked out Ben Askren with the flying knee, and he knocked out Darren Till. I mean, just a crazy ass year, and I think
if
that
you
was
ask me, the
prime of his life.
Askren knee was the high water mark
For
for him.
sure. Yeah, but he beat Nate Diaz. He went out there and he beat the shit out of Nate Diaz, as far as I'm concerned. We watched that fight together, if you don't remember.
Yeah.
He beat the shit out of him. I mean, he just did. And
Yeah, but also that's a rough and tumbler, and that's not like what the UFC will come down to. You're gonna fight someone who's gonna take it to the ground, and then like, what does he do?
right.
What can he do?
Yeah,
Not saying
he
I can do
struggled.
any better, but
No, but Masvidal struggled, and Masvidal he fell victim to Usman twice, just like Colby Covington did, which we're gonna get to. But I want to point something out about Colby's last few fights. That fight was in 2022. He has not fought since. So that win, I don't know what value you attach to that win, but for me, it's not too much. It's not. You've got that victory over Masvidal. I don't. Gilbert Burns just beat Masvidal and then had to go
like
into
you almost need to be taken seriously in the
yeah.
UFC.
But regardless, like not a great, not my favorite win in his career. But then okay, you go back, UFC 268. This is now 2021. This is the fight prior to this. So now this is the fight in the Madison Square Garden, the rematch with Usman. Now, I'm gonna say this on behalf of Colby Covington. I rewatched that fight as well, not as recently, but probably a couple months ago. I actually think Colby won that fight. And I might be alone in that, but I actually personally rewatched that, and I thought I don't know which rounds, I can't remember which rounds I thought he got, but I thought you could very, very easily score 3 of those rounds for Covington. Didn't get the nod though. Unanimous loss to Usman, which is
Well,
baffling.
no, that's the thing, dude. It seems cliche, but like you really need to. It's not enough to show up.
You got to beat the
If you
champ.
have, if you have an even scorecard on a championship card, you lost the fight.
Yeah, to the champion, probably.
If you win by like a half point in one round, you lost the championship.
Right? Yeah, yeah. You can. It can turn out that way, and
No, it can't be up to decision because if it's up to decision, if it's ambiguous, then the championship is or then the champion is where he belongs. If
yeah,
it's ambiguous, then he is rightfully placed. If you usurp him, if you beat his ass, then it's no question.
right.
But like,
That's
I
what you
don't
got to
think
do.
it's such a to lose to like a close decision as the champion. That's it's like something, and that's I feel like it's almost like a plot armor system in the UFC, but I really like how they have it there.
I
Like,
disagree. I disagree though, because
no,
I
I
think they
don't.
should. Well, but I disagree. I'm saying I think that it doesn't matter. I think it does. It should, championship or not, it doesn't matter. You're scoring the fight 10-9 must system. It's round by round. Who won the rounds? Period. That's it. It's all it takes. And it's a merit. It's supposed to be meritocratic. Like, okay, did this person? We have a criteria. We stick to the criteria. Did this person do X, Y, or Z formulaically to win the round? If they won the round belongs to that fighter. It doesn't championship or not. And I know that I know the judges can be swayed by, you know, whatever the audience kind of their reactions to what's going on in the fight. If there's a hometown guy in there, and maybe the shot selections are a little bit, you know, they get a little more pop from the crowd. Maybe it seems like the shots are landing harder. Who knows? From my perspective, though, I rewatched that fight and thought to myself, you know, Colby got a couple of those. He got three of those rounds. I scored three of them for Colby, but he did get dropped twice in a round, and I don't remember if I don't think a judge gave a 10-8, but like in boxing that would have definitely been a 10-8. But it
Hmm.
doesn't in MMA it's not a 10-8
No, no,
round.
because you can
Yeah,
trip
10-8
him.
round is very definitive. It's like it's an ass beating. Like
Yeah, like
you
you
gotta
weren't able
really
to
lose.
move.
And
Yeah,
there were
you
no
weren't
10
able to move.
right. There were no 10-8 rounds in there. Okay, but let's get back to the point because I want to finish up this point on Colby Covington because I'm not trying to praise him because I don't think he deserves this spot. Period. And here's why: his last three victories. Okay, this dates all the I mentioned this actually in the comment section of the podcast, of the Morning Combat podcast. I was hoping that maybe they got to the question. I don't know. I haven't listened to the episode, but I'm curious to hear what people say about this, and I'm waiting. This week, I'll probably will hear a little bit of this, but the last time, from my perspective, the last true quality win, like championship elite level win from Colby Covington, where it's like he beat a guy that was, you know, that earned him like he should go into a title fight immediately because of the victory. The last time that fucking happened was when he beat Rafael dos Anjos in 2018. Okay, that's fucking 5 full years ago, more than 5.5. Since that win, which he did win an interim welterweight belt for that victory. And I'm just playing resume games. I'm not talking about performances because a year later he fought Robbie Lawler and just beat the shit out of it. But Robbie Lawler was old, I mean, was he completely washed? No, but he was definitely aging, not prime. Then he goes in after the Lawler victory, and okay, he strung a bunch of wins together. So, like, fair enough. Give him the title shot. At that point, sure. I don't think the Lawler win on its own was enough, but he had put enough wins together that he definitely earned the shot. Then he goes in there and gets finished off by Usman. Okay, great. Uh, Pretty definitive. I know he disputes the KO, but that he got his jaw broke in the fucking one of
He
the best
did.
fights ever. That was a great fight,
That's
right? You saw that fight, didn't you?
yeah. I thought we watched that.
Not that one. No, that was like a month after the Masvidal Diaz fight, but it was the same year. But we didn't watch that together.
Oh,
No.
okay. Yeah, no,
But
that's
I know
so
you
I did.
watched it,
Yeah, no, so I watched that, and then as I was watching the fight, he hits him, and I was like, oh, that's gross. I was
yeah,
like, that wasn't right. And then
especially the
like his
highlight.
corner, they have in the highlights they have him. He goes, it doesn't. It's voiced over or not voiced over. Sorry, but he looks at
Mike,
his corner and he goes, he
Mike picked it
broke
up.
my. Oh, it did. It did.
Yeah.
He goes, he broke. He goes, he broke my jaw. Like it's
Well,
broke.
Colby being the ego that guy has, he says, I broke my jaw. And I remember when I heard him say it, I was like, no, no, no. Usman broke your jaw, bro. You didn't break your jaw.
Well, no, that's
He
like your
says
fight.
I broke
Your
my
fight.
jaw, but
Yeah, I
like
got my
it's
jaw. Yeah, I broke
he
my
says
jaw.
I think I broke my jaw, which I'm just like, bro, you didn't break anything. Usman broke your jaw, and if you didn't, then you just got cracked on. Like, and he did, and you know what? He got finished. It was a clean finish. I don't give a fuck what he says. Like, he was getting banged on. It's not, by the way, and
And
this is gonna play into my analysis of what I think is gonna actually go down. But like, okay, the Lawler win, crazy victory, just beat the shit out of him. Goes in against Usman, gets finished. Okay, then he goes in there against Tyron Woodley. Bro, Tyron Woodley had lost like 3 fights in a row, was in the midst of Tyron Woodley, just the absolute collapse. Like he had lost to Usman, he had lost to Burns, then he loses to Covington, then he gets subbed by Vicente Luque, then he goes in there and loses to fucking Jake Paul twice. Like,
mm,
like Tyron Woodley was he's just as washed as he had ever been. And I'm not shitting on Woodley. I love Tyron Woodley, but This dude was in his late 30s. He's 39, I think, at the time, 38. This is a very washed Tyron Woodley, certainly not prime. And it took him 5 rounds for Covington to get him out of there. Okay. So good, whatever. Good performance. So he clearly won the fight and took 5 rounds, but got him out of there. Then he goes in against Usman, a great performance, but gets dropped in the fight twice in 1 round in like back-to-back sequences, right? Usman catches him a couple times, drops him twice. And then he loses the fight, loses another championship belt or belt opportunity. Then he goes in there against Masvidal, and he puts it to Masvidal, beats his ass, but once again, gets dropped. Masvidal drops him pretty bad too. But Masvidal was so fucking old and tired, clearly, and not in. I think he's even said this publicly that he was like not in fight shape for that fight. He might have been nursing an injury. Did not have the cardio, couldn't follow, drops Colby, couldn't follow up with anything, lets him recover basically. But once again,
he had to recover. He was like, I get
he had to recover his fucking hand from like cracking this dude on the jaw again.
You hit someone, they fall down, you're just like, you're kind of second to breathe.
But I'm just saying, my point being that okay, he's first of all, he has traded wins and losses in 4 straight fights, and I know he's a draw. I know he's like got the personality and whatever, but like. And I know he weighed in and like this is clearly a company guy, and the UFC is they know he's a draw.
Milking him.
There's no way. Dude. Let me tell you something about Shavkat Rakhmonov real quick. I know we're gonna get to him. This dude is 17-0. 17 finishes. All finishes. 100% finish rate.
Done.
That's what I mean. He has literally won. I mean, this is the insanity.
Look at you can see the 17-0 versus 17-3. Why is Colby fighting?
Just that on its own.
Rakhmonov.
Just that on its own. Okay, great. Okay, maybe Rakhmonov. Okay, you can't even make the argument that he's fought better competition because he just beat Masvidal fucking like a year and a half ago. It was a long time ago.
Right.
More than that. So like
Colby has great PR.
Yeah, I mean that's what's gotten him to this spot. Obviously undeserving.
So this is like the final thing I would leave on this fight. It's absolutely Colby Covington's to lose. This is like the pinnacle of what he's done to get here. He could become the champion by beating Leon Edwards. He could very well do that. I don't think he has what it takes. Leon has lost against scarier people.
Yeah.
And I have doubted him more. During big, I don't think he's going to let this slip to someone like Colby Covington. The main thing that
I was gonna say I completely agree. I'm in full-fledged agreement with you. I think Edwards gets this done. I actually think he gets it done inside a couple. I think he finishes him because I think Colby's been dropped one too many times. He gets clipped, and when he gets hit, he's affected, and he's never. Mark, I'm saying this again. Colby Covington has never, in his entire career, first of all, he's going to go for wrestling, right? Like this is going to be the part of the game plan. You would imagine he's going to pressure tactics, and then try to get takedowns. Okay. Leon Edwards has excellent takedown defense. Usman had a really hard time getting him down. He took Usman down, actually.
Right.
So like I think he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm not worried about submissions. I'm really not too concerned with takedown. I mean, if we're gonna find out quick, if Colby can get him down early while they're dry, that's gonna be a bad night for Leon.
Yeah.
But he's always in the fight because I'm gonna tell you, this is what I was gonna finish my point on. Covington has never been in there with a slicker striker. Never. Masvidal, no. Maybe Masvidal in his prime might have been a comparison to consider, but certainly not when they fought. Usman, his striking has come a really long way, and he's probably an elite striker now, but definitely not a better striker than Leon. T. Wood, absolutely not wrestler with big right hand power, but certainly not a slick, kickboxing striker. Robbie Lawler, no, especially at the stage he was in. RDA, no, a similar style pressure tactic fighter. I mean, this dude Covington has never been in there with like Leon is gonna catch this dude. He's gonna catch him somewhere on the feet because the fight has to be on the feet at some point. And I'm telling you what, Colby Covington is getting finished. He's going to get finished in this fight at some point, I believe. So, I mean, that's my prediction. You said it. You said it best. Like, this is. It's not really Colby's fight to lose because he's not exactly. But like,
Well, no, the only
it is
reason I say
because
that is because this is his high water mark right here.
yeah,
His PR team has done everything to get him to this
because he
moment
didn't have
with
to do
that
anything to
record.
get this spot. So like,
Exactly. They were
it's a
like, this
free
is the
opportunity.
they're like, you either need to win this or you like shut the fuck up. Like that is your
I don't know
options.
where he goes after a loss here. Like I don't even know.
Exactly.
He likes to do this though. Is like when he like he
He's going to be incredibly humble in this
well he's
loss.
so he's so fucking inactive though. Like and which I actually respect that. I respect guys who take time off in between fights. But like I felt like so when he lost to Usman, he jumped right back in there like 4 months later, 3 months later, which was a pretty quick turnaround for him. I expect if with a loss, he'll try to get right back in there and fight somebody. Probably pick some. He'll probably pick like Wonder Boy or somebody who's aging to get another win over. But like this dude has never been. This dude has never been in there with. He had chances to fight Chimaev. He could have been fighting Rachmanov, but like just decided to wait until he got his opportunity, and they gave it to him. And I get that he's a draw, but like um, first of all, I mean, if you're falling for the shtick, like, and you think that this is like a true patriot with like big ideas about like the blue collar work life, like this guy is a fraudster. Like he is a complete fraudster, and I don't I don't understand. I mean, I get it. I get that it's a shtick, which is why it doesn't offend me. But like, what I find sad is that people actually look at him as like an inspirational figure somehow. I don't know how I don't know how that math is shaken out the way it is, but it somehow is. So, um, interesting main event. How do you think? How do you think it ends? I mean, it's clear that you're picking Leon to win, but how do you think? Does he is this going to decision? You think?
I think it ends. No, I don't think it's going decision. I think Colby is. It's going to be a sad night for him. He's going to have to rebrand maybe.
Do you think he's going to get finished though? Do you think? Are we looking at
Yeah,
a
I
knockout?
do. I think we're looking at a finish.
I don't see it like a Stone Cold knockout, like out cold. I see a Kobe getting clipped and then Leon pouncing on it and getting some.
TKO.
Yeah, one of those. I mean, maybe he does actually get. I'm that chin is suspect, man. Colby Covington's chin is genuinely suspect. This dude has been. I mean, he gets hit clean sometimes, and that's what Usman hit him clean many times in the first fight. Hit him clean and dropped him at least a few times in the second fight. And Masvidal fucking clipped his ass. Like, I don't know, man. You got Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is in his fucking prime. Leon Edwards hasn't been rocked since Nate Diaz clipped him. You know, remember
Hmm.
that? Remember Nate
Yeah, and that's
Diaz?
the thing too. Like, I think Leon's more tested. What's he been doing in the last couple of years? Getting
He's
to the
been active.
championship.
He's
He's
been
been
pretty
fucking
active.
earning his spot.
Yeah, I mean, he had a little layoff there, and let's see, like, I mean, look at it's not even comparable. You know when the last time Leon Edwards lost?
Hmm.
He lost to Kamaru Usman. You know when that was?
Hmm.
2015.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's what. And he avenged it and then won the trilogy. And
Yeah.
he beat Vicente Luque, who's on this card. He beat Brian Barberina. He beat Cowboy Gunnar Nelson, RDA. He had a no contest with Bilal, who is the backup catcher. I should mention Bilal Muhammad or backup catcher. Jeez, there's my baseball pouring out of me. Bilal Muhammad is the backup fighter for this fight. So if somebody misses weight or can't gets injured, Bilal Muhammad will step in, who is also on quite a win streak. But Bilal was getting pieced up in that fight before there was a bad eye poke from Leon, and he couldn't continue the fight. So I would have picked Leon to finish that fight at some point. I don't know when or how, but it seemed like he was on path to victory. Then he goes out and has the performance against Nate Diaz, and then he's beat Usman twice in a row. I mean, this guy's fucking. You can't get any more momentum than that. You know, like I can't imagine him losing. If he does, it'll be you know shocking, and we're gonna have to deal with Colby Covington as a welterweight champion for a bit. So I see if, but I will say this too: if Colby wins, don't expect the welterweight division to move very quickly. This dude is going to squat on that fucking belt for like he won't fight for a year. Mark my words, and they won't strip him because he's a draw.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mark my words, that dude wins the belt. He is going to be he will not be fighting until December of next year, probably. Like just not an active fighter in any real way. So let's all hope for the sake of the welterweight division and for our mental sanity that Leon Rocky Edwards gets it done. That's the main event. Errol, let's move into the co-main. What do you say?
Yeah.
All right, Alexandra Pantoja, the new flyweight champion, is rematching Brandon Royval. They had a initial contest that resulted in a Pantoja submission victory. Pantoja won the belt. He's on a 4-fight win streak, and he won the belt in what was probably the greatest flyweight fight of all time in the history of the division against Brandon Moreno. Did you catch that fight back in July?
No, I don't think I did.
You got to do yourself a favor and you got to circle back to that one. I'm telling you, I just rewatched that one as well in preparation for this card, and it truly lives up. I mean, it is a absolute blood and guts war for 5 rounds, and a very close fight, unbelievably close fight. And I've got a nickname for Pantoja right now, especially if he gets a victory in this fight. This man is the Brandon killer. This man kills Brandons.
Yeah.
I mean,
And this
he
will
is.
confirm it.
If your name is Brandon, there's one man in the UFC you don't want to be in there with because this dude is. He has beat Brandon Moreno 3 times. Okay, he beat him. He beat him once on the Ultimate Fighter on Tough, the Ultimate Fighter tournament. Then he beat him again in a rematch in 2018, and then he beat him again just this July, and he also beat Brandon Royval. So once. So
This guy's the
this man is the brand.
killer.
He is the Brandon killer. Like this dude is. If your name is Brandon, seek you might want to seek a new division because this man is going to lord over people who named Brandon for a while. Four four
Dude, so
4-0 against Brandon right now in his career. So any Brandon, if your name's Brandon, not good.
name Brandon, bring it on.
Yeah. Um,
Uh,
this dude
yo,
is
so
not
here's the
playing.
thing. I think Mr. Royval has it.
You think he's going to get it done?
I think we're gonna see. Yeah, I think we're gonna see an upset, and I'll tell you why. He was injured during that fight, the first
This is
fight they
true.
had.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, he had shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yep.
fought again, if I'm not mistaken, with the shoulder injury, and then he got surgery after that.
Yep. This is all true. Yep.
This is a guy who's just been brooding the whole time.
Yeah. And he's healthy and he's finishing dudes too. Like his last 2 victories have been like violent finishes first round too. Like
I think this fight almost has like the most like almost I don't want to say like bad blood, but I think like this I think we're gonna see Mr. Royval shine, dude. I think we're gonna see Brandon Royval shine. But dude, he's going up against the Brandon Killer. So this is not a good
oh, that's
matchup
gonna
for
stick,
you.
dude.
You know what I
I want
mean?
somebody to pick that up so bad because
The Brandon
I'm
Killer.
hoping that somebody calls
Alexandra, the
he
Brandon
should
Killer.
switch it. Yeah, the Brandon. If he gets this victory, he'll be 5-0 against men named Brandon, and he should just start going after the Brandons. Just call him out on the mic too, like right after. Just be like, "If your name is Brandon, seek new division." Like he's just gonna fucking call it out right then and there. But I mean, I do agree with you. I think Royval is coming on. I think he's definitely starting to develop into the fighter. I mean, Moreno beat him. The 2 Brandons they actually fought themselves. That's the thing about this division is
Infighting.
there's a lot of there's a lot of rematches in this division. Like all these guys have fought each other. Like between Kai Kara France, Brandon Moreno, Pantoja, and Askar Askarov, and then you throw Tim Elliott in the mix. Like there's like 4 or 5 fighters in the flyweight division, and they've all fought each other multiple times. Like Kai Kara France has fought Brandon Moreno twice, I believe. Um, and he's also fought Pantoja at least once. Yeah, at least once. He's fought Brandon Royval. Askar Askarov has fought Pantoja and Brandon Moreno. Um, I mean, and Kai Kara France for that matter. So like, I mean, these guys are all scrapping each other. They're very familiar with one another. I disagree though. I think Pantoja is still he's still in that. I mean, that last war concerns me. It wasn't so recent that I'm super like concerned about it, and he does take a good chunk of time off in between fights. Like he never fights short notice for the most part. Um, I mean, the shortest that I can see since he's been in the UFC in between fights is like let's see, January to May, that's 5 months. May to November, that's a handful of months. I guess like April to July is the biggest. That's like the shortest gap between fights. He's usually good about taking 6 months off. The last three fights have been a year apart each. So he fought in July of 23, July of 22, and August of 21. So that's his win streak is spaced apart pretty well. I think his chin's going to hold up okay. I think the damage is not I mean, it was a fucking war, man. I'm telling you, go back and watch that fight if you get a chance. Like, it's probably free on YouTube. Pantoja and Moreno, I believe that was also a rematch. That was their third fight, in fact, technically. And it was a fucking absolute showdown. Just incredible fight. One of the best fights in my opinion, it was the best fight of the year. One of the best fights of the decade so far. A crazy ass fight. A lot of damage taken, and Royval's going to have to catch him. He's going to have to bring it. And I think he can make the fight a lot more compelling than their first fight because the first fight ended what? It was second round. I know that you said he was injured, but like he did get subbed in the second round of that fight. I see Pantoja getting it done probably on the feet. I think they're going to slug it out, and I think Pantoja's going to put him away. But either way, you got two knockouts. And for my prediction side of things, I think you got a pair of knockouts in the title fights. Anything else on that one before we move into the next fight?
Nah, not really. It's gonna be interesting. I'm actually more excited about that fight than I thought I'd be.
Dude, the flyweights are so fun. They're fucking
Oh yeah.
fast as shit. It's a great division. I'm so glad that division is where it is because I know it was like kind of on the way out there a few years ago. But no, that'll be a fun fight. Pretty much guaranteed to be action packed. It'll be great. And speaking of action packed, let's move to the next one because boy, we've got action packed written all over this motherfucker right here. Shavkat Rakhmonov, the 17-0 fucking marauder is going up against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in what is sure to be either a very sad night for Wonderboy or it's going to be a war.
Best. It's either gonna be a sad night for Wonder Boy or the culmination of his PR team.
Yeah, where they're going to have to start working on something.
Well, so he's also done a really good job, but so I hate it, like it's almost in the same like ilk of Colby Covington. Um,
Ooh,
but like he's actually a likable guy. Like he has like a job outside of the UFC and stuff. So like it's very reasonable for if you ask me like a person like Thompson to just ask for better fighters when he fights. Like no matter what, just be like, I won against my last one. Give me someone higher rated than I am.
yeah.
Like no matter what.
I mean, Wonderboy is one of the most likable people in the sport, bar none. He's just that's why I was like shocked the Colby Covington comparison. I see what you mean now that you finished
No, no, just that like
because they have nothing in
they
terms of
don't throw him out.
personality.
They actually he turned down the Rachmanov fight
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah,
before,
yeah. Well,
but
I
that
can
it's
you
because he
blame him?
wasn't. Well, no, yeah, you have nothing to lose by fighting that guy, or no, sorry, nothing to win by fighting him, and everything to lose.
Exactly.
Why be the person to like decide whether he's worth it or not when you can just fight him later? And then now that he's at the spot, he's like, yeah, I'll fight him.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a storied career, and he's definitely once again. Here's the thing about the that I don't love about this matchup is, I mean, I actually think he has a lot to win. I know that he didn't feel this way. I know he didn't feel that way when the fight was initially offered to him, but I actually disagree at this stage in his career. Right now, he has a victory over Kevin Holland, and I think when the fight was offered to him, no, this is not true. The fight was offered to him after the most recent victory by Rachmanov, which was over Jeff Neal back in March. I think that Wonderboy got the win last December. Once again, he's been taking about a year off in between fights, give or take. 6 months to a year off in between fights, which is what you do when you're Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and you're basically 40 years old. I believe he's 40. Yeah, he's 40 on the nose. He'll be 41 in February. So he's aging at welterweight. Not a good place to be. I'll put it to you this way. He had a fucking war with Kevin Holland, but he won. He got a corner stoppage and got the victory after 2 straight losses. What do you do if your goal is title picture? What do you do to get into the title picture? You got to take the fight that's given to you at the highest ranking. So any other fight, Kevin Holland, I don't even think was ranked when they fought. It was a really fun fight. It was one of the best fights of last year. But I do get there's a sense of urgency. You're 40. You got to take a fight, obviously, and you've got to take a fight that gets you closer to the title. And right now, I put it to you this way: Wonder Boy comes out there and gets Rachmanov out of there, catches him with something. I don't know how he could get it done. I don't know how. I'm not anticipating a victory here.
I think it'd be biggest upset of the year.
It would absolutely be. It would be shocking, and people would be so pumped for him because he's such a likable dude.
And I think it's the most reasonable biggest upset of the year too, dude. I'm
because Wonder Boy's good, man.
I might throw a couple dollars.
Yeah, you want to sprinkle a little cheddar on it. It's not the worst idea, especially at those odds. I think I'm not sure where he's at in the odds, but he's definitely plus money pretty substantially. But you work yourself. Listen, you've got another fight we're going to get to in the welterweight division in a minute here that also has some title implications because at this stage in the welterweight division, Bilal Muhammad's probably next no matter what. But if you're one of these guys that are fighting on this night, you're going to want to make a statement and get something done in dramatic fashion, put yourself in a position where you could actually make a case to be next in line. And Wonderboy gets Rachmanov out of there, whereas Rachmanov is ranked number 5. Never been beaten either, and is the boogeyman right now in the division. So period. So if Wonderboy gets that done, I see you could move him right into a title fight against, and how fun would that be against Leon Edwards or Colby Covington? Either way, that's a fun ass fight. So, I mean, we're kind of playing with an alternate universe where he actually does get the victory.
I don't even want to see Leon Edwards lose, but I'd love to see Thompson beat Covington for the championship.
Nicest guy in the sport versus the biggest douche in the sport, like
right, just like actual salt of the earth versus like wannabe.
Yeah. I mean, that would be. If I'll put it to you this way: if you got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson standing across Colby Covington in a championship fight in 2024, I will be fucking shocked because if I'm making a prediction on this one, I'm thinking Shavkat's going to get him out of there.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's going to knock him out. I think that it's not going to be the knockout you think. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, they're standing and trading and Wonderboy gets caught. No, I think it's going to be more so. It's going to be on like a clinch break, or Rachmanov's going to have him pressured and he's going to take him down, and he's got a very vicious ground and pound. I think he's going to catch Wonderboy somewhere on the ground or up against the fence and put his lights out. And it's going to be sad. It's going to be sad because I like Wonderboy. But I'm taking Rachmanov in that one. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm rooting for Thompson, but definitely Rachmanov's. I mean, statistically speaking, man, it's stupid to bet against him.
It's not that he's not losing. He doesn't even let the judges get involved.
No, he's like, I'm not doing it.
He's just like, I'm not going to those goddamn scorecards. Just get the fuck out of here. I mean, he's only been to the third round twice. His last fight made it to the third round, and then he went to the third round back in 2018 in Kazakhstan. He's from Kazakhstan, so like,
one of those kind of middle countries there in Europe.
Yep, those Eastern European countries where it's just like it's just beat down. It's just like these guys
drinking yak juice.
yeah.
We just don't do that here.
We just don't do that type of shit here. I mean, this man has got roadkill on his head, like as a fucking fashion statement. So like, people who do that, you see a man walking around with a carcass just draped over his head. I mean, just fucking run for the hills because the man's coming for your throat.
Yeah, what do you want to fight him? Like he fought that thing. He beat that thing up that he's wearing to eat it.
Yeah, he ate it raw too.
He killed that out of necessity. You want to fight him?
Yeah. All right. Well, I'd say I think we'd probably land in the same place on that one. Let's move into the next one. Keep this train on the tracks.
Or the
Uh,
next one, or the next
okay,
next.
we'll actually save the next one for to close out the main card. We're gonna flop the order. Let's stay in the welterweight division. It actually kind of makes sense to stay right here in that
Yeah.
division in a very similar matchup in terms of stakes in like where these two fighters kind of are at because you got an aging veteran versus an up and coming undefeated fighter. Um, Ian Machado Gary against Vicente Luque. This is Gary's fourth fight of the year. He has beat. Let's see. This year he knocked out Song Keenan at UFC 285 back in March. Then he turned right around 2 months later, knocked out Daniel Rodriguez in May, and then another 2 months later, he was in Boston at UFC 292, and he beat the shit out of Neil Magny, straight up. Like, no one has made Neil Magny look that bad. And I know that there's some shit going on with Ian Gary on the personal side of things. I don't know. Have you been following this at all? What's going on with him?
Only thing I heard is that he's the least liked fighter in the UFC.
Basically, yeah. At this point, like he's going for the Conor McGregor shtick. Whether or not he has the ability to do Conor McGregor things, we will find out. But there's stuff with his wife. I'm not going to
He's
comment on the
he's
shit.
literally if Conor McGregor and Colby Covington had a baby.
Kind of, yeah. That's really good. That's actually really on the nose. That's about right. And you know what? Colby Covington and Gary are in the same division, and they're going to be on the same stage at the press conference. So maybe some fireworks going on there.
If Ian Gary's like about it, then he'll talk wild shit.
Oh, he's
Fucking
going to
Colby
talk wild shit.
Covington.
I'm telling you, right? He's going to talk wild shit. He has no problem talking wild shit, and he's pretty okay at it. But we'll see how much better he is now because he seems to get more and more confident in between fights, and he's winning. He's 13-0. He doesn't have the Rachmanov. I'll tell you one thing. There's one man that's going to be on that stage. He's not going to be talking shit to, and that's Shavkat fucking Rachmanov. He's not. I guarantee that man will not shed an ounce of attention. He ain't talking to Rachmanov. He ain't even going to look at that man wearing a dead animal on his fucking head.
He's like, I'll beat your ass. I'll beat your ass. Your ass.
Oh, Merry
I'll beat
Christmas,
your
sir.
ass.
Merry Christmas to you, sir, and a Happy New Year. He's got the swagger that an undefeated young fighter would have. I don't want to make comments about what's going on with like his wife. His wife has been like whatever. There's been accusations that she's like kind of manipulative, or I don't know what's going on there. That's been a thing on the internet. I'm not going to dive
Well,
into.
so I'm not familiar. Let me bring me up to
You want
speed.
the drama? You want the juice
Yeah, I
on it?
want the tea.
Basically she wrote, I guess she wrote a book or published a book about like how to groom young successful men into being in relationships because she's kind of older than him or something. I don't, like I said, I don't fucking know. I hate that people comment. Like, I get, okay, that's public and they've made their lives pretty public by like, recording
You know
everything.
what they're doing then, right? Just chasing the
Start,
bag.
well, yeah. I mean, well, she did this before they met. That's just why it became a thing on the internet. So it was like, oh shit, this dude's fallen victim to a cougar, a gold digging cougar. But they have a kid together. I don't like talking about shit like that because to be completely frank with you, like I don't know, like people should not root
If
for
I was him, I'd be like, babe, write the book.
write the book. You
Yeah, I'd
clearly
be like,
got
write
it.
it.
You
Yeah, we
clearly,
got to pay for diapers.
yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
did. That's what happened. Do it.
Yeah. Well,
I'm successful.
that's the
I'd
point
be
though.
like,
Is
do
like
the thing.
it feels a little bit like okay, this dude maybe he fell victim to something like that, and this lady is not like great, but like no one actually truly knows that except people in their lives. A and B. Why are people rooting for a fucking marriage of which there's a child been in the mix? Why are people like rooting for that to like? They're actually not even rooting for it. They're like contributing to like damaging it publicly. And it's like, I
Right,
don't know.
exactly.
Like, just stay out of it. It's not your fucking marriage. Why do you even care? Why do people care?
Right. If you don't like the book, don't read it.
Don't read the fucking book and like who get I know that they're public and they've made themselves public, but like the dude's a fighter, he's a public figure because of the fighting. I don't that
He
stuff
gets
is
paid to get
nasty.
punched.
And
So
nobody
okay,
actually fucking knows. This is the part. This is the part that drives me nuts. Like you're not in the room with them. You're not a person in their personal lives. Like how the fuck do you know what's actually going on? You're just
like he would have broke up with her if he wasn't okay with that book.
I don't know. I don't. Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he's a goofball and he's just been fucking. Maybe some knucklehead that
He
just
didn't. He can't read it because he got
yeah.
punched too many times, too many
He got
concussions.
cross-eyed. Maybe. Well, I don't know. He's 13-0. He's that clearly hasn't been hit too much.
Well, you
Um,
still get punched.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And he's been dropped, yeah. But he's fighting Vicente Luque. One to back on the shit that matters. He's gonna fight Vicente Luque. It's an interesting matchup. Luque is coming off a victory. They actually used to be sparring partners or training partners, so there's like some backstory there. I think they're pretty cordial. I don't know. Gary's had apparently he's been kicked out of gyms for filming everything. I don't know, stuff like that. The shit like that's been going on. You wonder where his
Annoying,
headspace.
bro.
It's been very public and it's been like getting pretty wild on the internet. So you wonder where his headspace is at. If he gets, I'll put it to you this way: if he goes out there and puts Luque away, this dude's Teflon Don. Like it's
Well,
done.
I'll tell you what. Just off of that, like, because I was kind of like, oh, Gary's like coming up, but like that kind of shit like speaks volumes to me. Just because I've actually like you were saying before, like I've done like a little bit of wrestling. I have like when we're talking about me versus Rob Schneider. I have a little bit of wrestling background. I've done a bit of jujitsu, and that's the thing. If you're sitting there like taking it serious and like doing this stuff, you see other people that are there like taking it serious and doing this stuff. If someone's sitting there and like, granted, when I did it, it was back in the Disney. It was like early 2000s, so like no one was on their cell phones as much as there was like flip phones and stuff.
Yeah,
But like
right.
if someone was like taking pictures and like fucking just do it, be like, bro, we're here to work. Like, what are you doing? Like, we're like put that away. I don't want you taking
Yeah.
pictures of me when I'm like sweating dogged out and I got
It's
my
not even.
junk in this
It's
guy's
not that.
face.
It's not that. It's that these guys are they're employing strategy and
That too.
strategic positioning and shit. They don't want that shit public. These guys don't even want their injuries out. Like they're guys that don't disclose their injuries publicly because they don't want they
Right.
don't want to be
You're
targeted.
icing your hamstring and then you're over.
Yeah, exactly. And then
Just because
Alex
some dude's
and
like,
then
oh,
Alex
another
Pereira
Tuesday.
and then Alex Pereira comes out there and fucking leg kicks your ass right in
Literally
that
one
spot.
time he throws his toes out and they touch you in the hamstring. And you're like,
Yeah, and then he kicks
you
you six more
folded.
times and you get a leg knockout, leg
The
kick
ref breaks it
knockout.
up. He's like, stop kicking him in the leg. He's like,
Come
why are you
on,
fucking?
don't you know how bad that hurts? Yeah, I mean,
I
so
know.
that
Just the
stuff I
fact they
get.
brought
No,
him up.
I get why people are turned off by his like persona and the like he is very like unlikable from my perspective. I've heard him in many interviews. He's extremely pompous and like very full of himself, but like and it's very unappealing like on a personal level, but like as a fighter, he's an excellent fighter. He's an excellent fighter and like I also don't the personal stuff he's kind of asking for it in a lot of ways by being so public with his fucking life, but from my perspective as a fighter, this is the biggest test he'll have yet. Luque is still he's still very young. I know that he had like a brain bleed or something like
Yeesh.
not that long ago. Like he got cleared. I think he's good. Um,
Bro, this could be a disaster fight.
yeah,
This
but
could be
he's
a
he's
great
already
fight for Gary.
no, but he's already fought since then, right? So Luque had that incident, and then he took a bunch of time off, and then he fought RDA, and he fought all 5 rounds, and he got hit a lot. And you're fighting RDA, you're gonna get hit,
Well, that's
and
what I'm saying. It's even worse. He got hit by him.
yeah, it could be. You might be right. It's a very possibility. It's definitely a possibility that like he's not all there, and but he's still very young. He's only 32. He's right in his prime. I mean, he's got a lot of miles, but he's still an excellent fighter. If Gary gets by him, I don't think it's title shot necessarily, especially when you've got guys like Rachmanov in the mix and you've got guys like Bilal Muhammad who's probably next. And for my money, I'd want to see one more. Like you get Luque out of there. Maybe you match up Gary and Rachmanov and somebody's always got to go. Maybe we wind up in a situation like that. I mean, let's take a look at the UFC welterweight rankings. I mean, who else are you putting in the mix here? I don't even know. I mean, you got Usman. Maybe you could do Ian Gary versus. I don't know where Usman's at either, too, because remember, Usman just fought at middleweight. He went up to middleweight for his last fight against Chimaev. I don't really know. Gary's ranked 10th and Luque's ranked ninth. So, like, what the fuck happens with Gary if he beats Luque? What do they swap spots? Now you're still number nine. You're nine in the division. That doesn't get you. Um, that doesn't get you where you want to be. I don't think. Gilbert Burns is fighting Jack Della Maddalena. I guess that was another announcement I should have hit. That's going to be a huge fight in a couple months. So you wouldn't be able to match him up with Burns. Um, I mean, I guess you could go maybe Sean Brady. Maybe you just bump him all the way to Usman, number one contender fight. I don't really know. I guess it just depends where Usman's at. But like Gary's not really going to have anybody to fight unless it's Shavkat Rachmanov. I mean,
Right.
who?
Everyone's booked.
Yeah, it's just not a good. It's not a good sitch. So I don't know what this fight really does for him. It's also his fourth fight of the year. I mean, he could sit on his 3-fight win streak. This fight is not going to get him. I think what he's looking for other than a guaranteed big fight. Like he'll definitely get a big fight next. Who it will be against, I don't know, but he's probably going to be looking at some time off. I would imagine. But yeah, who do you got in that fight, Erroll? Who do you think is taking it home?
Um, I kind of a part of me thinks that it's going to be Ian Gary.
Yeah, I do think I think so too. I think the striking. I think that Luque is masterful on the ground. You know what? No, I'm going to take that. I think Luque is going to get it done. I think Luque is he's a fucking black belt, and I think that if he Gary's been dropped before, I can see a path to victory here where Luque could get a sub, where he could sub him out. I think that's very much in the cards. Um,
Yeah, no, I mean, if it goes to the ground, that's you don't want to be down there with a black belt. So like that's
no,
I can absolutely see
Luque's
that. But I think, I'm looking at the score. I'm thinking 13-0 doesn't look too far fetched.
yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised. I'll put it to you this way: either victory will not shock me. It will be.
Hey, he
I
he
think
needs
either
this to
one.
keep up the persona, man. He needs it.
Oh, he definitely
So
does.
this is
A loss would be pretty detrimental to the brand at this point. So you do want
because
to.
he's built up everything to get to right here where people are like, oh, he might be like he has a clean record to quote unquote back up the talk, but that's all he has to back up the talk now. There's no like real crazy, giants that he's
He
slayed.
gets hit a lot too. This is the thing. Like I've seen it. He's
For all of his talk, he's no Conor McGregor.
Well, no, he's not doing what kind of like I was looking at that run for McGregor. I was looking at just the sheer numbers of like what McGregor was doing. Like I guess if you were to compare their careers, because McGregor was just on the rise, right? He was just like moving on up through the division, and he was his mouth was kind of taking the sport by storm because he would be out there talking shit, and then he would just go out there and back it up. And people were like, okay, who's going to be the guy where he's not going to back it up against? And then it wound up being basically Habib. But if you look
But
at that,
like anyone, we all
yeah,
knew that was
everybody,
going to
right?
be the
But
case.
listen to this run. Like, okay, Marcus, this is McGregor. This is his UFC run all the way to before Habib. So all the way to UFC 205 when he becomes double champ. Listen to this fucking run. He beats Marcus Brimage, first round knockout, Stockholm, Sweden, first round. Then he goes in there and has a good performance on a torn ACL against Max Holloway decision. Okay, lackluster in
Great,
Boston. Still, it's a very good win, right? At featherweight.
not a bad guy.
Then they go to Ireland, right? Because now he's a star because he's been mouthing off and the world's paying attention a little bit. He takes on Diego Brandao, knockout first round in Dublin, home crowd. Then now he's going to hit the pay-per-view scene, and he's got Dustin Poirier for the first time, knockout first round. Then they throw him in there against Dennis Seaver. Kind of a that was a little switch up, but once again, second round knockout. Now let's throw him in there in an interim UFC featherweight championship. Okay, knockout, second round. Again, Chad Mendez. Then we're going to throw him in there against Jose Aldo. 13 seconds, first round knockout. A very famous one that everybody knows about, right? Okay. Then he gets subbed by Nate Diaz. Then he avenges it in a decision, and then second round knockout of Eddie Alvarez. I mean, he was fucking putting him away. I mean, and
Big
then you
names.
go back even further in his first like 8 of his first 9 fights all ended in the first round by knockout or sub. Like this is why people wanted to watch Conor McGregor. This is not happening with Ian Gary. Like McGregor was exciting because he was just it was all first round. It was like something's going down. He's gonna
He
put
was
his
there
foot
to
on.
fight.
Yeah, his foot's going on the gas pedal. We're getting after it early, and I just think that that's not. exactly happening with Ian Gary up until this point. Maybe he takes off at a certain point. I mean, we'll see. We shall see. Errol, I gotta hit the. I'm gonna hit the head, and so I'm gonna plug in a quick break here, just to my teeth are floating. So we're gonna take a short break. We'll be back in just a moment, and then we'll finish out the card. There's one more fight on the main card. We'll get to it right after this break. See you in a moment. Okay, thanks, folks, for hanging in there. Appreciate the patience on the quick break there. We're going to dive right back in this UFC 296 card. We got one more fight on the main card to cover. Errol, this one's a very important fight. This is going to be the fourth fight on the card. Well, I guess in chronological order, it'll be the second fight of the night on the main card. We're talking Tony Ferguson is back. He's fighting again, unfortunately for probably him. And he's taking on Paddy Pimblett. Errol, why don't you kick us off? Tell me what your initial thoughts are on this matchup.
Dude, so I really like both of these fighters. Always been a real big fan of T Ferg.
Me too.
I mean, it feels like almost like a sanct or like a like really disingenuous to say, or like it feels terrible to say, but I think this might be a swan song. I think this might be his
Yeah.
last. It's all or nothing, and even then, even if he wins this, I don't like it all for Tony Ferguson. He's getting kind of up there, but
Yeah, no, this is a bad situation for sure.
I'm very interested to see the culmination of that training though with the old David Goggins.
Yeah, that's right. So he has been training. That's a big part of the story going into this fight. Is he's been training with David Goggins. My concern with that is that that's an implication working with a guy who's an endurance athlete and an absolute mental. I mean, we talked about him a little bit on the history podcast, the first podcast. If you guys want to, for listeners, if you want to go back and take a peek, we did a full episode in our history series about the about feats and achievements of physical and human endurance. And one of the cats we talked about was, in fact, David Goggins, and he was a I mean, he's a specimen for sure, and he's a mental coach in a lot of ways. I guess is a good way to describe him. I mean, he is an absolute. He's a powerhouse as a figure, and especially on the training side. My concern with that is that I don't understand why is Tony Ferguson bringing on a mental coach and a cardio machine and endurance guy for a problem that he doesn't have. He doesn't have a problem with cardio
Or mental stuff.
Well, in
Well,
the
I mean,
fight
okay,
game,
okay, okay,
in the
okay.
fight
Yeah,
game, no,
yes,
but yeah,
yes, very, very okay, yes.
big
So,
distinction
but
there.
that's,
Outside of
but
the fight game, we've got
he's had
probably
some,
said some bad issues.
he's had some stuff.
Yeah, a couple
But
of
yeah, well,
things.
inside the fight game, it's never been like, does he have what it takes? But also, I like that idea of like breaking a barrier like that you thought you had, and like it's going to be interesting to see if that like actually paid off. I think Patty's gonna
Yeah.
show him what actual training will do to you.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I just think that Patty's younger, more explosive, and I just think he's gonna put it on him. And I think he's gonna. I think Patty knows the game. The game plan is gonna be pretty simple. Tony Ferguson is a dangerous guy. Um, even at this age, he has showed signs. Even in his last, I mean, he's on a 5 fight or a 6 fight losing streak, I believe. And it's just getting worse each time in a lot of ways. Like, okay,
Hmm.
the Gage. So we'll talk a little bit about the Gagey fight in a moment, but it starts with Gagey. Then he's in there with Charles Oliveira. No, no harm, no foul. You lose to Gagey, Oliveira, Dariush, like, and then Michael Chandler. I mean,
Four really good
four
guys.
great guys in the lightweight division, and then he goes out there last minute against Nate Diaz in a pretty good fight, and he had his moments in that fight. That fight was fine. Like anybody who watched the Nate Diaz fight and was just like, "Oh man, Tony sucks. Like Tony's done. Tony's washed. He can't fight anymore." Like you could say that, but like, I mean, Nate Diaz, nobody's saying that about Nate Diaz, and I would say that it was a very competitive fight, like very competitive. And Tony won a few of those rounds. He did get subbed and lost the fight, but 6 fight losing streak is not a good place to be at 40
Nope.
years old, and like
Nope.
it all culminates from one place, in my personal opinion, and that is the absolute torrential downpour of a beating he took from Justin Gaethje. I rewatched that fight recently. That one's tough to watch, man. It's tough to watch. And if you are looking for an example in the sport of MMA of what a terrible job coaches do in this sport and not throwing in a fucking towel, look no further than UFC 249 May 9th in Jacksonville in 2020 when Tony Ferguson continued to be trotted out into that octagon and just get lit on fucking fire round after round after round after round. I mean, he had a
Gaethje
couple,
is a competitor. He is a top tier. It's a coin flip when he fights, man. Like a top tier. Like he could very well.
but
Um,
there was a well, that's how he was going into that fight. But then something happened, something clicked with Gagey after losing to Poirier, where like he took some time off and like kind of reshaped his game and decided that he wanted to be a champion. And I know he's lost to Oliveira and didn't really fight until all too smart against Oliveira, in my opinion. But it's tough to look good against Oliveira. Nobody does, but like he's lost in championship fights, but every time he's not in a championship fight, he's got this like kind of more measured style of fighting. But he still throws so fucking hard. Everything he throws is at 110%, and he throws really hard. Um, and he's got those leg kicks, and he's just an animal. He's just a very very
I think he's
dangerous guy.
I think he's a really I think he's a smart fighter. I think
He
he
is
knows
now
what
for
his
sure.
strengths are. Yeah, I think he
He,
knows what like his strengths are and he knows how to play to them. And I don't want to say a lot more dangerous than people give him credit because anyone who like actually takes the sport serious like know that
they know how
like even
dangerous he is. Yeah.
right, but like I feel like just because of the weight class he's in is so competitive that he kind of doesn't get as much shine as he should.
But he also
Like
sits on top of in my opinion, he's the number one contender right now. Other than for
yeah,
some reason, Oliveira I think is ranked one, but like in my opinion, Gagey should be next anyway, just on a
it,
meritocratic level.
you put someone like Justin Gagey even like I say like as far as like maybe even like 5 years back, there's he's like a problem. Like he's like washing people that are like semi-competitive. Like you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
are like
So
it's he's
you think that the wear and tear from the career is kind of might be a problem at some point here down the
well,
road.
it's like just right now it's a tough time, I think.
For Tony or
So
for Gagey? Because Gagey's no.
no, for everyone, for
Oh,
everyone.
because the division is where it is.
Yeah, because
Yeah, the division's
exactly.
going places. Yeah, no, I see
So
what you mean.
like
Yeah.
if any of these people were like at any other time, it wouldn't be as like crowded or congested. But I mean, it is what it is. But I think Justin Gagey's a great fighter.
I think Justin Gagey. I personally think he should be. So, like, if you're gonna compare, so Oliveira loses to Islam, right, in
Hmm.
dramatic fashion in this division. Islam takes care of business, just gets him out of there. I think it was the first round, maybe the second round. And then Charles takes a bunch of time off, and then he comes back and he puts away Beneil Dariush in the first round. No problem. That's a great performance and took care of business. And now he's like, now he's calling for the title shot, and he wants a rematch again against Islam. Okay, Justin Gagey did what like everybody asks the older guys like Justin Gagey. I mean, he's not an old fighter. He's 34 or so, maybe 35. I don't even think he's 35. I think he's 34. Um, but he did the thing that everybody's always asking these guys to do. Justin Gagey, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, they all ask, what's always asked of these guys in this division is that like don't squat on your spot. There's these killers, these young killers are coming up. Justin Gagey fucking did that. He went in there and beat.
And he got punished for it, if you ask me, because like when you look at, so like you could be like a Colby Covington, you could be like a like, or like, where is it, like an Ian Gary, you could like just play it to where you're sit on something or try to like play your spot there. But no, like this dude, this is why I think he's a good fighter, and it's because like the key word there is fighter. I think this dude is a tussler, bro.
Yeah,
He was like, I'll fight. I'm not.
yeah.
I
He's
don't
got
care
he's got
about
the
none of that.
he's got
I
the
don't care about the.
backbone.
He's like, I don't care about the PR. I came here to
Nope.
swing. I'm not getting any younger. I'll swing the second I'm healthy.
Well, his fight style is that's the PR right there. Just look at the way he
Mhm.
fights. Like it's always entertaining. It's always super violent. Let me let
Even
me
when he loses, he's like, I showed up.
let me drag this back to. I want to drag this a little bit back to. I don't want to lose touch of what we're trying to get at here, which is we're talking about Tony Ferguson. And what I wanted to say, I personally think Gagey should be next in line for the belt, and I think that the reason that he might get it is because he beat a contender and he beat Dustin Poirier, and he deserves it. And that is, I want the point I'm making with that is 3 years ago. And he is still doing what he's doing. That's how good Justin Gagey is. And I think he absolutely took a piece of Tony Ferguson's life away in that fight. And I personally think it's on his corner. Whoever his corner was, I know he's changed coaches, but like Tony Ferguson's corner that night, they have a lot to they should answer for that to some degree. I know that nobody's really talked about this, but when I was rewatching that fight, it took Tony. He had nothing for Gagey. He just continued to get his ass beat, just like in this way that was so obvious and clear. And like, I just couldn't understand. He needed someone in his corner to just say that's enough. Like, and instead he just kept like there was probably a point early in the third round, maybe mid third round, where you could have been like, okay, there clearly is no answer for this, and Gagey is running away with this, and the beating is getting worse. And it ended up in the fifth round, at the end of the fifth round, where like the referee just had, I think Herb Dean had to just get in there and be like, that's it. Um,
And you know it's bad if Herb's calling it, dude.
yeah, I mean, Herb Dean just said that I've seen enough, and Tony was sitting there shaking his head, like, I mean, the CTE and it's terrifying to watch. It's awful, and his corner should have thrown in the towel, and we wouldn't be talking. Maybe we wouldn't be sitting here talking about a 6-fight losing streak from a guy who was like considered to be maybe the guy to beat Habib. Who at this point it's hard.
That was the fight for
We'll
the
never
longest
know though,
time.
and you know why we'll never know, because they're all. I think a lot of people just assume that because of the way Tony's career kind of shook out, that like the reason that there's no reason to believe Habib would have had a hard time with him. But like I'm telling you, Justin Gagey took a piece of that man. Like I don't think that this is not the guy that would have fought Habib. Like Justin Gagey, that performance from Justin Gagey that night was second to none, and I think it really derailed his career. And it's just gotten worse. I mean, he's been finished 3 times in a row now. Two of them, luckily, by sub, not knockout. But the front kick, you remember the front kick from Michael Chandler when he kicked his head
Mm-hmm.
into the bleachers, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that one? That was from a couple of years ago. I mean, it was ugly stuff. So like, I don't know. From my perspective, I don't forecast this fight going well. I think Tony Ferguson should consider some retirement options. I don't like seeing him out there. I don't think he looks spry. I think he looks competitive because he has such good fundamentals and he's like such a wily veteran that I think he makes fights look more competitive than they actually are. And who knows if he gets this done, that place this sport's gonna be on fire for like a
Yeah,
week.
but
If
that's the
he
thing. I don't think that that's going to be the case. As much as I love Tony, I don't see that like realistically being the case.
No, yeah, I don't either. I'm forecasting the explosivity and like this is a prop up fight for Paddy Pimblett, and I'm not saying I actually don't think Paddy Pimblett is championship worthy. I don't think this dude is on the path to a championship. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he won his last fight. I thought that was an actual robbery, not a hyperbolic one, but a genuine like how the fuck did this get scored this way? Um, I know he's a popular fighter. I don't think he's very good. I'm not seeing an elite fighter. I'm seeing a guy who gets hit a lot, and I'm seeing a guy and who knows, maybe a new version of him shows up and puts Tony away in a matter of seconds. So, I mean, we'll find out. But from my perspective, I think he gets it done, and we move on into the next stage of the Paddy Pimblett project, and we'll see what that looks like. So that's it for the main card. Anything on the undercard you wanted to hit, Errol? I know Cody Garbrandt's fighting Brian Kelleher. Josh Emmett is taking on Bryce Mitchell, late notice opponent Irina Aldana. Anybody that sticks out to you other than probably Cody Garbrandt?
Yeah, no, that was really it. Probably that and the Keller fight was going to be well that Garbrandt Keller,
Yeah,
but
that's yeah Garbrandt and Kelleher. That's going to be. I think that'll be a fun fight. I think that's about where Cody Garbrandt's at right now. Unfortunately for him, he's back at bantamweight. Yeah, I think he's coming off a win, so we'll see. I mean, his chin has been suspect for a while. I think the Josh Emmett Bryce Mitchell fight is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really curious to see how that one shakes out. That's a great feature bout on the prelim card. I'm looking forward to that one. That being said, Errol, is there any other storylines, any tidbits, any side notes you want to hit regarding UFC 296 coming up this weekend?
and nothing I can think of right now. Try to squeeze something in before if something comes up.
Yeah, we'll be back in the airwaves in just a matter of a couple days here. So yeah, that's it for the UFC 296 preview show. We talked about what's to come on that card. We're kind of working out. I think Errol, you might be watching this card together in person. We'll see how things go. It
Yeah,
sounds like that's
likely.
probably going to be the way it shakes out. But whether or not we're able to podcast is a whole other kettle of fish to fry up. So, but in the meantime, let's talk about what's coming next in the Peripheral Views podcast. Errol, we're talking another film. It's coming up in just a matter of days. What are we talking about?
Oh, the old Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're talking Martin Scorsese's 2013 crazy ass film, Wolf of Wall Street. There's a shitload to unpack on that one. I just got done with another viewing of it, and wow, I mean, my God, an absolute journey, like a total experience of a film. There'll be a lot to talk about on that pod. We're gonna work that one in at some point in the next couple days, and then we will have something in the works for you guys. Hopefully, we'll have a plan together for the follow up to that, the follow up podcast. Whether or not we do a post show is kind of it's going to be play it by ear for the UFC card, but in the next couple of days, we'll be circling back to Martin Scorsese in The Wolf of Wall Street, 10-year anniversary actually this Christmas. I think it came out on Christmas Day. I know it came out in 2013, but I believe it was Christmas Day. So that thing came out 10 years ago. Shockingly, did you
Dang.
see it when it came out, Errol?
Yeah.
Was it a theater
Not in theater.
experience?
I didn't see it in theaters, but I saw it like right after it like came out.
Strangely, I don't know why, but I remember seeing it in theater, and I actually don't think it was in theater. Like I have a weird a memory that it came out in theater, but then I also read that it was like exclusive to digital streaming or something. I don't even know. My memory is 10 years ago. It's all it takes. 10 years goes by and you forget everything. I don't know if
Hmm.
I can't remember having. I remember seeing the film right when it came out, but where and when, I guess the details are a little bit
Yeah,
foggy.
easy.
That being said, Errol, let's close this thing out. We've gone on long enough for a podcast, a preview show. This has been the Peripheral Views podcast. You know where to catch us. We are at We are on X at Peripheral View 123. Check us out on Twitter, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Please subscribe, rate, and review. SoundCloud.com/Peripheral Views 123 for any additional streaming. Our website is peripheralviewspodcast.com, and we can be reached more directly for inquiries of any kind at peripheralviewspodcast@gmail.com. That being said, Erroll, anything you'd like to add before we close down?
Nope. Just
All right.
Can't wait for these fights. Should be a good one coming up.
Great card. Yeah, great way to close out the year. Last card of the year. Huge night of fights. We're really excited to peep that. It's gonna be a great night of fights. It should be a lot of fun. Should be a lot of exciting matchups. And it's a good card. I'm glad they put it together in this way to kind of bang out the year. So that being said, thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate the listenership and the following. Check us out on the Wolf of Wall Street podcast coming out this week, and we'll see you on the next round of the Peripheral Views podcast.